You are one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy here on YouTube and online all the time at westhesportsguy.com. You can follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. You can find it all at westhesportsguy.com. Make sure you bookmark that site. Use that hashtag #OneOnOneWes, and I encourage you to also use the hashtag SportsIsComingBack. Again, the hashtag SportsIsComingBack. It is happening. No more qualms about it. I have a lot to get to today, not just with the NFL Draft, which I'll get to in a moment. I've also got a few announcements I'd like to make at the end of this episode. But again, I thank you for constantly coming back, checking in. Sorry for my absence. I hope you are working as well. I do not want to see you without your job. I want to see you get back to work. I do not want to see things the way they are currently for the last month plus. I hope you are well, first and foremost. But again, I'd like to see you back to work and back to the way things are and have been for your lives, essentially. I want everything to get back to what it was. I know it's going to take some time, unfortunately. Not going to just blankly snap your fingers and be, everything back to the way it was. It's not going to be that fast, but it needs to start progressing a lot sooner rather than later. I will get into that kind of a topic at a later date when I get to the announcements here later in this episode. But hey, I'm here for sports. I know you're here for sports. So again, hashtag sports is coming back. Also the hashtag #OneOnOneWes. Thank you for tuning in, subscribing, hitting that bell, getting all the notifications on all that good stuff. So getting right into it. The NFL Draft has started, and it's not a normal draft from what you've been seeing in years past. It's been a draft that you see where it's in Roger Goodell's basement. Roger Goodell has a steady supply of M&Ms, it looks like, as well. Being in his basement doing this virtual draft, you also came to the realization that Bill Belichick can also impersonate himself to be a husky when he's doing his draft from home. So that's been a thing to see. You also got this great gem coming from Tyrann Mathieu, the safety of the Kansas City Chiefs, in his tweet in reference to what Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, said about Cliff Kingsbury, who was his coach in college. Or actually, no, it wasn't his coach in college. I'm digressing here. Kyler Murray was his coach in college at the time. But Texas Tech alum Patrick Mahomes, Cliff Kingsbury, used to be a player and head coach at Texas Tech. But regardless, when you look at the tweet, Patrick Mahomes was referencing Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and his nice little pad that he's got for his virtual draft this year. And then Tyrann Mathieu made the comment, as you can see in the tweet on the screen, Mathieu making the comment, that's why they couldn't afford to re-sign him after he was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. And it's all in good fun. I know it's not what we're normally used to seeing, but there's been some funny things happening with all of it, including not even a funny thing, but just kind of going off topic here with the way the draft has been broadcasted this year. It's been interesting, to say the least. I don't like it. I don't want it to be this way forever. I know why it's being done. But let's just also point out the fact that ESPN needs to curtail its coverage of personal tragedies when it comes to these draft picks. I mean, it's a great moment to have them drafted, but at the same time, I don't need to know every single tragedy these guys have gone through to get to this point in time. It's a great moment. Let's just celebrate the moment. Personal tragedy aside, let's not highlight that as much as you have been this year. It's been very, very, I'm not going to say bizarre, but just unnecessary, to say the least. Going right into, though, the NFL Draft, recapping the first round. No shocker, Joe Burrow went number 1 overall, the Heisman Trophy winner, with an insanely amazing, short of a perfect season you could have for a college quarterback for the LSU Tigers, capping it off with a national title. He did win the Heisman Trophy before that. He went number 1 overall to the Cincinnati Bengals, to the surprise of no one. Number 2, Chase Young, defensive lineman from not LSU, Ohio State. That's where he went to college, Ohio State. He went to the Washington Redskins at number 2. Number 3, Jeff Okudah. No shock at all, the best cornerback in the draft. He went to the Detroit Lions at number 3. There was talk about Detroit, whether or not they were going to trade that pick. Didn't happen. They didn't find the suitor, apparently, and actually really didn't even seem like they were getting offers for it. Doesn't surprise me either. This is, before we get into more of the draft here in the first round, that's all I'm covering right now is just recapping the first round. A lot of people were expecting trades. Doesn't really surprise me there wasn't a whole lot to begin with in the first round, especially. This is a deep draft. It's one of the deepest drafts that football scene in quite some time. So just laying it out there, that doesn't surprise me you didn't see trades. After number 3, Jeff Okudah. Number 4, New York Giants and Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle from Georgia. A lot of folks were apparently somewhat suspect about this pick by the Giants, but again, they need a lot of help. And especially with a quarterback that you invested in last year in the top 10, and Daniel Jones, you need to protect your asset, and that's the major asset for the Giants. And you get a good offensive tackle. Andrew Thomas in the top 10 is not a surprise. I don't think that's a reach at all. At number 5, Tua Tagovailoa. If I mispronounced that, I probably did. Sorry. Alabama quarterback. He went to the Dolphins at number 5. They were tanking to get their guy, and they kind of screwed up the tank. They ended up getting only the 5th pick in this draft, but they got their guy anyway. Tua went number 5. Justin Herbert, quarterback out of Oregon, went to the Chargers at number 6. Number 7, Derek Brown of the Carolina Panthers, went to the Carolina Panthers, defensive tackle out of Auburn. Isaiah Simmons, who's just been a standout his entire career at Clemson, and then going into the Combine was also wowing and surprising a lot of people. Didn't think he was as good as advertised, but he is. And he went number 8 to the Arizona Cardinals. Jacksonville Jaguars at number 9. They got corner C.J. Henderson. This is now the definite replacement for what they had in Jalen Ramsey last season before they traded him for the Rams' first-round pick. And Jedrick Wills, went to the Cleveland Browns at number 10. I'm a little rusty because I've been away for a while, but I appreciate you being here. Subscribe, hit that bell, all that good stuff. Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns from Alabama. You got to protect your asset there as well, and that's Baker Mayfield. He had no protection whatsoever with a porous offensive line last season for a team that should have been in the playoffs. They needed to shore that up. Smart pick, easy pick, really. The same thing with the following pick, the New York Jets taking offensive tackle Micah Becton out of Louisville. You got to protect your asset, your quarterback, Sam Darnold, and there's a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft, and they went fairly fast in this portion in the first round. Henry Ruggs going to the Raiders, wide receiver from Alabama, speed guy. John Gruden likes it. Mike Mayock is in charge there as well. They didn't surprise they went for a receiver. They need weapons, and they traded away a lot in the last couple of years, and now you're starting to replenish it. Tristan Wirfs, tackle out of Iowa. He's going to be protecting your new asset in Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. I know I probably didn't mention it very much on this channel before I took my break, but hey, Tom Brady's now in Tampa Bay. Kind of surprised about that, but again, he's in his 40s. You're going to have to protect him, and that offensive line wasn't as good as it was for Jameis Winston, even with the numbers that he did put up last season with the offensive weapons at his disposal. Brady's going to have that. Now you got to protect Tom Brady. Protect your asset. The 49ers at number 14, they took Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina. That is a replacement for trading away DeForest Buckner to get this pick, which originally was 13. They traded back one slot with Tampa Bay. Ended up taking a defensive tackle, another big 6'5" lineman to replace what you traded into DeForest Buckner. 6'7" defensive tackle, went to the Colts. At number 15, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama, went to the Broncos. No shock there. They need weapons for their now new quarterback in Drew Lock. They got in the second round last year from Missouri. A.J. Terrell to the Falcons, corner from Clemson. They need to shore up that defense as much as they possibly can. It was not as good as they thought it was going to be. CeeDee Lamb going to the Cowboys at number 17. The rich get richer when you look at this case because, hey, that was technically the best player on the board right there. Did the Cowboys need a receiver? No, they didn't. They probably should have taken a corner, but all the good ones were taken at that point. You take CeeDee Lamb, that's a number 2 receiver with Amari Cooper coming back. You do have Michael Gallup still. That just makes Dak Prescott's job a lot easier going into the future, assuming he gets a new contract. They did franchise him. Off the tackle, Austin Jackson going to number 18, the Miami Dolphins out of USC. You got to protect the new asset, and that's Tua. You got to get the offensive line going, and that's what the Dolphins were focusing on very early in this draft. They had a lot of picks going into this, and I think it was about 13 or 14 minimum going into the draft before any trades started happening. The Raiders again at number 19. It's the Las Vegas Raiders too, if you don't know. They're going to Vegas now. At number 19, they took a corner, Arnett. It looked like Emmett, but it's Arnett out of Ohio State that took him. You don't have a lot of top-flight corners for the Raiders anymore. I want to say Oakland, but it's not anymore. It's Vegas. Not a lot of good corners for them anymore, so you get a solid one. Did suffer an injury, I believe. I think he had a torn labrum last season for Ohio State, if I'm mistaken. Oh, well, leave a comment if that's the case. At number 20, Clavon Chasen, linebacker, LSU, going to the Jaguars. This was the Rams pick, so the Jaguars re-upping that defense. They're trying to get back to what they had not too long ago with a top-flight defense, shutdown defense, you could say. 21, the Eagles took a wide receiver, Jalen Reagor, out of TCU. A speed guy, not big, but speed is the name of the game, and the Eagles' offense needs to be high-flying. They need to get back to what was successful, what got them Super Bowl just a few years ago. Carson Wentz is your quarterback for them, and they did draft, on a side note, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback out of Oklahoma, who's the runner-up to Joe Burrow for this last year's Heisman. They drafted him in the second round to be an eventual replacement, I would assume. He's not going to replace Wentz anytime soon, but if Carson Wentz is going to get hurt, and if he's also going to be struggling as he was last season, then you have some insurance there in Philadelphia. Back to the first round, Minnesota took Justin Jefferson, wide receiver at LSU. The trend of this draft, especially in the first round, has been offensive linemen, receivers, playmakers. You need a lot of it, and that was the name of this game here in the first round. Justin Jefferson going to the Vikings at 22. That's a replacement for Stephon Diggs, who was traded to the Buffalo Bills here in this offseason. Kenneth Murray going to the Chargers at 23. The Chargers traded into the first round to get this pick from the New England Patriots, and they drafted a solid linebacker in Kenneth Murray. You got to make sure that defense is back to what it can be. It should have been a very good defense last year, aside from Derwin James, their safety, being hurt. Now you have a new quarterback in Justin Herbert, no more Phillip Rivers. The offense is going to be looking a little bit different, not terrible, but a little different now with a rookie quarterback, and now Kenneth Murray going to be leading the charge on that defense. Cesar Ruiz, drafted offensive lineman, the center for the New Orleans Saints at 24. The Niners, with their second first-round pick, they took a wide receiver. There was a bit of shuffling here in the trade aspect of it, but they took, with their second first-round pick, wide receiver Brandon Ayuk from wide receiver out of Arizona State. In the similar mold of Deebo Samuel, who is already their top receiver right now going into the new season. They don't have Emmanuel Sanders anymore, left as a free agent to the Saints. But Ayuk is basically in that same mold of Deebo Samuel, a yard-after-catch guy, a yak, playmaker. You need guys that have good release off the line. This is a solid pick for them. Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State, taken by the Green Bay Packers at 26. Everybody assumes this means the end of an era with Aaron Rodgers. I do not believe it's going to happen anytime soon. If Rodgers still has 3 years left on that contract with the Packers, he has 3 years left on that contract with the Packers. Jordan Love is not going to be replacing Aaron Rodgers anytime soon, barring injury. This is just preparing for the potential of either injury or Rodgers retiring. That's all this is. Calm down. Just preparing. Seattle Seahawks, first-round pick, linebacker out of Texas Tech, Jordan Brooks. That is the name of the game for them. You got to get back to what made Seattle great, and that was the defense. Yes, you have Russell Wilson, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but the defense has been not up to par the last couple seasons, especially this last one. You got to get it back to what they've been known for. And you do have Bobby Wagner, but you get a guy like Jordan Brooks in there to provide some added oomph, shore up their front seven, because now you don't have Jadeveon Clowney anymore, still a free agent. But this is a smart one for the Seattle Seahawks. And this has been the theme for a lot of first rounds in the NFL draft. I don't judge them based off of it right now. You could 3, 4, 5 years down the line judge them, but for what it is right now, this is just about what the needs are. And every team got what they needed. Sure, they traded back in, they traded back, accumulated some other picks, but for the most part, every team drafting in the first round for the NFL especially, you draft based off of need and what is available to you. And I think every team hit a home run here. That's just my opinion. Leave a comment below if you disagree. Patrick Queen, the linebacker from LSU, another one. Not the first one. Chasen was the first one going to the Jaguars at number 20, I believe I said earlier. The Ravens at number 28, they took Patrick Queen. Very good sideline-to-sideline player. Just perfect match right there in Baltimore. You know, the fairness of teams getting guys like this is just not, it's not fair to a certain degree, but hey, Baltimore, they know what they're doing. That's why they've been so successful for many years. Tennessee Titans filling a need at offensive tackle, drafting Isaiah Wilson, another tackle out of Georgia. They lost Jack Conklin as free agent to the Cleveland Browns. They needed to replace him, and you found a replacement there at right tackle in Tennessee. Dolphins, their third first-round pick going into this, they drafted a corner, Noah. Not even going to try to pronounce that name, but it starts with an I, as you can see on the screen here, out of Auburn. Again, players in the SEC, this has also been a trend. Players in the SEC were just flying off the shelves in this first round. 15 of them went, and that was a record for the NFL in the first round. At number 31, the Minnesota Vikings, Jeff Gladney, cornerback out of TCU. Also a need there with Minnesota, like when they drafted Justin Jefferson to replace Stephon Diggs. This is a replacement for Xavier Rhodes, who was cut. He did sign with the Indianapolis Colts. And the last pick, the rich get richer. The Kansas City Chiefs draft a very good all-around dynamic running back in Chris Edwards. It's blocking out the hyphenated name here, but it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There we go. Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU. So national champion running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There you go. You got it. So all in all, again, as I alluded to with the first round, this was a very good draft. It's been a deep draft. The broadcast itself was okay. I don't want to see it this way. I want it to be back to what it was, and it will be. It's going to happen. Mark my words. Hashtag sports is coming back. And with that, as I alluded to with a couple announcements, first one being that I'm going to be doing a podcast. I'm waiting for it to be posted on various podcast platforms via Apple, Google, Spotify, all the main ones. I'm just waiting for that to eventually go through. It has been posted. It's going into about a week now. I'm just waiting for that official word. Once it does, I'm going to post a couple episodes that are from this YouTube channel onto the podcast so you can listen at your leisure. And when that time comes, I will post the notification that it is live and active. If you want to subscribe, share it, all that good stuff with podcasts, I'll link it up at westhesportsguy.com. You can find all the social media feeds there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all going to be there for you. But again, I'm back doing this channel here on YouTube. Sports is the name of the game, and I'll be doing the podcast as well going forward. So thank you. I can't say how much I appreciate you guys coming in, checking it out, subscribing, liking, sharing as much as you possibly can. And I know that this is a very hard time for a lot of folks right now, and I absolutely hope that everything is well with you. I hope that everything is well with your family. I hope that you are trying to get through this as best as you can. Times are definitely tough. They're going to get tougher, unfortunately. And I would like to say that it's been at a point in time when I think it didn't need to be that way. And I'll discuss that more at a later time on the podcast, not on this platform here for YouTube, because they have some different ways of doing things. But going forward, I'm just going to be flooding this with as much sports content as I possibly can. And also, as I alluded to in the promo leading up to this episode, with Michael Jordan and The Last Dance premiering on ESPN this last weekend, and the 2 episodes coming the next few weeks on Sunday is when ESPN's airing them. I'm probably going to be I'm going to watch them at my leisure, not as soon as they come out, but when they are available, I'm going to go ahead and watch them, obviously, because that's how I grew up with basketball. Jordan in his prime and with the Bulls in the 90s. That was my heyday of watching basketball. So I'm going to watch these, and I'm going to give a live Instagram live reaction to them after every episode that I watch. Obviously, you can follow me on Instagram, follow the social media links at westhesportsguy.com, but that's another thing I want to do. I want to watch these and kind of give a live reaction on Instagram. It's not going to be an hour thing. I don't want to be talking about it for an hour, but I mean, if you're interested, follow me there on Instagram. I'll be doing a live reaction for every episode that I watch from The Last Dance, all the way, for every single one, 1 through 10, when they all drop. But I'll do that. I'll watch it, give a live reaction for about 5 or 10 minutes or so, just be like giving you my thoughts on that episode. So if you want to see more of this, just bookmark westhesportsguy.com, subscribe to this channel, hit that bell, get notified when a new episode is posted. Again, I thank you for checking in. There will be much, much better days to come. Keep using the hashtag #OneOnOneWes. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. And again, the hashtag sports is coming back. It's happening.
It is time.
We'll see you then.